All right, I'm here with GeT, Christopher Allisand. Is that how you pronounce it?
Correctly.
Yeah. After the MLG CS Major, we're at the hotel just after the final occurred, where Luminosity were able to take a 2-0 over Navi. And haven't got to speak to GeT yet, so I really wanted to. And I was wondering, just to start it off, how'd you like the event as compared to some of the major events that have happened in Europe?
It's been a wonderful event, if you ask me. All the staff is really helpful. The location, everything's been good. To be honest, I don't have any complaints.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would have, I would probably say something, like give something negative about it or something. But it's been all like a good ride, if you can say like that.
If there's like a takeaway from the event that you would say other tournament organizers should consider for their event, what would you think would be one? Or even something negative that maybe somebody should avoid?
Yeah, well, actually this is the only negative part I have. Was the first game on the playoffs when we were supposed to play the first game on the stage. We were putting 1 hour before the game in the warm-up area. Mm-hmm. And when you have the first game of a tournament, you should put up the teams directly on the stage. So if any bad things happens, technologies and so on,
yeah,
you should put them directly so you notice them faster, But they tried to fix it halfway, so we got at least 30 minutes instead of 20 minutes. So it was okay, but at the same time was bad because of how cold it was the first day. So I don't know how it was. I mean, I played today as well. It was still same cold, so it was not big of a difference, but like the sound and everything they added to the stage, you can't hear the causes, so it was much better than we were playing there the first day. So nice. That was probably the only negative part actually I can say about it, to be honest, because you should put the teams directly there, so you notice the problems that could probably happen for other teams.
Right. Cool. Now, there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened while you were playing, but this is my first time talking to you, so I kind of want to reel it back a little bit to the beginning of CSGO, when you started playing. And as my first question would be, 1.6 was still technically active when you switched over to CSGO. You were one of the first teams to make the transition over. Now, did you think that CSGO would be a big game, or did you think that you just were done with 1.6, or what was like the main cause that made you want to switch over to CSGO?
In the end, I was tired of 1.6 because we had problems with our organization back then. But it was not like a big problems because they were just honest with everything. It was more like they're gonna cut down our salaries and everything because the game was slowly dying out. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to find a new motivation because I've never been striving out to be like one of those money guys that want to get everything on the silver plate. Yeah. I want to fight for it. So when CSGO came out, especially during the beta days, I wanted to play it directly, and I did. And I was playing before that, I was playing beta days, and that was it. And then I swapped directly when it's out and so on. And Heaton and those guys came up with a good opportunity for me to go to the next level, to make it to another game and be successful in it, and find something new in a way, and new team and just a new market in general. That's something that I've always been striving for, like new challenge in itself, like in general. So it was more like I was done with the game, 1.6, but also that I wanted to do the bigger challenge, make a game big,
Okay.
But I always had in me, actually, I thought this game would be big. I always have, but maybe not this big, but I felt it's going to be bigger because of Source and 1.6 would be combined in a way. Mm-hmm. So I felt it would be big when everyone's actually finally switching over.
Now, all the way up until summer of 2013, and even past then, it was even up until skins came out, every thread on HLTV was, this game's going to die. This game's horrible, it's going to die. A lot of people were felt very strongly about 1.6 and that it was better. Did you ever get to a point where you wanted to quit, or there just wasn't enough money for you to justify continuing playing?
No. Simple answers, no. Yeah. No, never. I enjoyed the game directly when I started playing it because of the techniques and everything that was in the game, because everything was so differently in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So I was, no.
It was Faflaren was I think I heard an interview where Faflaren said that, or somebody said that Faflaren was the one to help you, Faflaren and Freiberg were the ones to help you get used to the mechanics and go, because they were so similar to Source.
Yeah.
Did you like that more, how the nays were thrown in Source, or?
No, I never actually really liked the nades and so on in CSGO, but it was just the game was completely new. It felt like even though it was Counter-Strike, it wasn't for me Counter-Strike. So it was like fun to experience with it, and like getting 2 new teammates, actually 3 because I didn't know exist back then that much, and see where things goes basically.
Yeah.
So it was a big shot, you can say, from my and Forest side to do this, but I had strong beliefs this is going to be big, so I was never worried during the way, you know.
Now the 87-0 streak that a lot of people like to reference is like the high point of NiP, you know, being very dominant early in the game. There's a lot of ways to look at it, right? Number one, there was 3 top teams, varied games, Virtus Pro, who are now Hellraisers, and yourself, basically taking out all the competition at the time. Did you feel like do you look back at the 87-0 as like your biggest achievement in NiP, or in CSGO that is, of course?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because we haven't won anything in a long time now. Last time we really won something big, it was the Major in Cologne 2014. So the 87-0 is probably that stands out the most. Even though the Major ones could probably be like even, if you ask me, because winning a Major is something big. You know, when you actually win a Major, you understand to be a champion of a Major. It doesn't really matter about how much the prize pool is or something like that, but winning something that everyone is aiming for. You want to, of course, win it. You know, you want to be the one who's, knocking the other enemies or teams down on the throne. You're standing yourself with the big trophy. You know,
Right.
It's just more about being the champion.
Yeah. Now some people might say, well, there are only so many really good teams, and anyone could have done that. But if you think about how early it was in the game, nobody knows how to play the game perfectly. You guys were driving the meta because everyone wanted to win, so they looked to you. Do you think that you guys spent a lot of time, or did you spend a lot of time thinking about trying to predict how things would change, because things would change so rapidly when you were keeping your lead? Was there anything special you're doing that Very Games or Virtus Pro weren't doing? What do you think was missing there? Because Very Games, for example, played very structured, very strict. They were like the NiP, or the anti-NiP machine at the time. It was like their one goal to beat you. I remember when the streak was broken, I think it was at EMS a long time ago. Very Games actually beat you in the semis, Virtus Pro actually beat you in the semis, and then Very Games beat them. Did you see those two as equal competition, one harder than the other, or like what was missing from their game?
No, it was actually Staller, and the only team to beat us in the beginning was Virtus Pro 2 times in a row.
Right.
Very Games weren't attending the tournament, but it's kind of semi-correct. I think we just had a perfect match of people in the team. Everything was just smooth. We could, if things didn't go well, we know how to counter it somehow in a way. Mm-hmm. But it's boring answer, but it's probably the best answer for it, that we were probably the ones who training the most. Mm. There's no really secret to how to become and do like that 87-0 streak.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, people can say like, yeah, it could be any team, but in the same time, I don't think it could be, because looking at the teams who were playing back then and so on, there was a lot of skillful players and so on, but there were so many teams that were using their plays wrong. That was the problem they were having. Our team was more relaxed and so on. You could do what you want and that you were feeling for it, but not, of course, all the time. But like you have a good mix of it, and that's what at least the latest Very Games figure out in the end. They need to maybe let Shoxy lose a little bit, and he can do his own will, and that actually made him turn around and actually winning a lot of tournaments against us.
I think a lot of teams took after that style of playing looser, especially very early on. I think Envy and Fnatic still kind of carried that into like the last year.
Yeah.
These last couple of months, it's starting to get a little bit more structured again, even with your team as well, which we'll talk about in a bit. But you played with Faflaren for so long. You had that long streak with them. You had just an amazing streak, just amazing run with him in general. And through that entire time, he got so much flack, obviously, about people who looked at stats. What would you say in defense? Because I know you've been vocal about it, so I'm not going to assume that you said anything else. But what would you say in defense of a player that was doing a job that it's hard to look at a stat and say how well they were doing? How should people be looking at players like that?
Before I could probably say like there's always like kind of different skill set everyone is having. Like you have a lurk, you have an attack, you have a support, you have this and that. You know. Nowadays there isn't really that much, to be honest, because I think that if you're gonna be a complete player, actually helping out your team even better, you have to be ready to sacrifice yourself instead of being, you know, the one that's everyone is sacrificing yourself for. So it's a different like kind of meta right now in those sentences, because I think Fallen did say that in an interview of his, that saying we don't have defined roles in our teams. It's just more that everyone is ready for this task. It's you need to jump in first or whatever it is, you know. But if you're one of those guys, like Fifi were for us, like he got a lot of hate for a long time because everyone was just looking for stats and so on. But he was the ultimate support player for us. Yeah. He did everything that no one didn't want to do, and he would sacrifice everything for the team's best, you know. And I understand it can be very tough for some people, but Fifi weren't really that person that took it that hard that people may think. I mean, of course, he probably did. I haven't really talked about him with it. I mean, it was a long time we were teammates. Yeah. But he was probably more stronger mentally than people may think, you know. And of course, his will was to win tournaments. It didn't matter that he's gonna be the superstar of the team or anything. Like he wanted to just win the tournament. That's about it. You know?
Good mentality to have.
Yeah.
Now you replaced him, or ended up replacing him with a couple of people. First Makalele, and then Allu. Was there something that? Well, first of all, what happened with Makalele? How come that didn't work out?
I think we were on the different side of the books of how we wanted to play, and it just didn't fit in a way.
Did he have a strong voice?
Yeah, he did, but we didn't really have a problem with it. It was just we didn't feel it was fitting. Simple as that. Not a super seeker or anything like that, but didn't just fit back then, so it was more like that.
And then Allu ended up staying for a little bit longer, picked up the op role. Actually wasn't an op on his previous teams, right? Was just known as kind of an all-around really good player. Yeah. Was that a worry for you, picking up someone and like teaching them, quote unquote, how to op, or expecting them to be a good opper?
No, I mean, Allu have the skill set of being a main opper when we took him in.
Could you talk about that? The skill set of being an opper?
Because on all teams he was playing with before, he's always been, you know, like you're saying, all around. And if there's an op that was needed, he would pick it up and he would do amazing things with it. So when he joined us, he was, of course, a full-time opper, and, you know, he can also, of course, take up the AK if that was necessary, or M4. But it was just like, we needed one guy at that time that we felt everything is cool down and it's gonna just do his part, you know. And Allu did it and even more.
Yeah, I feel like it was a big jump for you guys, considering he was the only Swedish player to ever play on NiP. Did that have anything to do with how it ended between you guys? Are you guys still on good terms?
I mean, yeah, we are. Like every one of us talk to Allu time to time and everything. We don't have any bad blood or anything, but he understood like why we swapping out and everything. So it's nothing about it. Like we wanted to go back to a full Swedish team. That's about it. If he were, and like he would probably be still in the team, you know.
And he himself went back to play with Finnish friends, right? So I guess there's a mutual understanding there.
Yeah, now, I mean, that thing with him going to a Finnish team, I think it's a good experience for himself, because I know he talked to me because I was very close to Allu, and he talked a lot of times like, and he's gonna do his own Finnish team, like a super team. He wants to do it properly and everything like that, and I would be supporting him every time if he wanted to do that. You know, like he wanted to leave and just do it directly or something like that, we would support it 100%. You know, because if you come from another country and you're playing for a team that isn't from that country you're playing for, you always have a dream, you know, to do your own team in a way, or like the super team of this country, you know, and be successful. So I know it will take probably longer time than probably people were expecting. Yeah. but eventually I think they will.
So that's really interesting that you say that about Allu and the nationalism involved with wanting to stay together. And North America is very widespread in terms of the types of players that meet each other, different cultures, different backgrounds, different outlooks on life. Do you think that affects how much they want to stay together as teams? Or is that hard for you to comment on?
It's hard for me to comment on because I've never been inside of an American team to understand the real problem is or was, if you can say like that. But what I heard like around it could probably be wrong, but it's like the people has too big of egos and they cannot really work it out in the end. Like people is gonna be easily in a fight and they're gonna be bitching about it for a long, long time, you know. Like that's what I think someone asked me this tournament, like how does people in especially Swedish team act out the problems that could be occurring, like happening. And I would be saying, example, when I play with Robin in SK, me and him, we had pretty much the same personality. Like we want to win no matter what, and we got in a lot of fights a lot because of how to play and not to, and blah blah blah. And we could be like very angry on each other and like screaming and shit, and then we just didn't talk for like 2 hours, and then we cooled down and we came back and had a discussion, just clear it out, and then I had a cool voice to say, you were probably right about this, and I don't want to say the same. And then you're like, let's see it from my point of view, and you discuss it, you know, easier and in an easier tone. And that's how at least all teams I've been playing with, like, it could happen, but pretty much never happens. But when it happens, it usually goes like that, you know. And I don't know how it goes in American teams, if they have like problems with the ex-player or how to play the game or, you know, what so. I cannot really comment on it, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a bigger issue than something we could tackle in a few minutes, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Now, so just to clarify, how did the Pyth or Pyth? It's Pyth because, or Pyth because Pythagoras, right?
Say what?
Because Pythagoras, that's how he got his name from the philosopher.
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. But
because Pyth, it's like it's a Swedish food thing. It's like called pyttipanna.
Oh, okay.
But it's not from there.
Oh, okay.
But people are making joke about that and so on. So to be honest, I don't know about where he comes up with his nickname. You have to ask him yourself one day.
How did the visa issue actually go down? Is it irresponsibility at all?
Actually, it's something I cannot really talk about.
Okay.
Sorry. Like I would love to do it because then people would probably understand it more and like but I don't want to say anything that could possibly be wrong or something. And then
sure. That's fine.
like it was just a bad timing and everything. And we tried our best. He tried his best, and everyone tried their best. MLG and all the run people. Yeah. It just didn't work out in the end. And probably soon enough we can talk about it. Especially, I mean, it's best to talk to him about it because that's his own voice and all his thoughts and so on about it. It's just very unfortunate for us and him, you know, and we feel bad about it, everything, because we wanted to play with our full lineup here. Yeah. Because we've been playing so long for this goal, and this was the first goal that we wanted to play, and we felt ready for this tournament, which we haven't been feeling for a long time. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are doing a lot better in your online season at ESEA especially. So, I mean, I guess, you know, expectations coming to the major, I know you said you've got to manage them because you're there with Threat. He did end up playing like pretty well, I think, surprisingly. Yeah. Did you have any concerns about maybe he's not going to be able to hit a shot, or? I've been playing with him for many years before in 1.6, so I know how his mindset and thoughts in going to a game is. And he's just similar where it was before, but even more better now. So I wasn't really like, you know, thinking this is gonna go so bad or something. I was just a little bit worried about his skill set, and I think everyone was, even himself. But he, you know, he played really well. You know, he stepped up every game that he played. You know, and I mean, we had like 12 hours maximum practice with him, so we're happy with the result, or how you could say it. You know. So we had to lower our own expectation a lot. But everyone felt that we could probably go much further in the tournament if we had Pyth here. Yeah. Now, you yourself, when your team is doing well, you've been known as a person who's worked extremely hard. I won't say harder than anyone else, but just hard for yourself. And when NiP were winning everything, you were, you know, leading in terms of like stats like ADR and
had the spotlight for many very amazing clutch rounds and stuff like that. And right now, in your regular season at ESEA, you're at the top of the league. You yourself have 90 ADR. The next highest is like 80 ADR. Do you feel like you are like suddenly back in form? Do you feel like you're ever out of form? Is there more motivation right now, or what's changed the most?
I want to bring NiP back to where it belongs, and that's pretty much the last goal I want to do before I quit playing. And if that means it's going to be in a year or two or whatever it is, or whatever happens, I want to do it with something that I'm myself is proud with. And if that needs to me playing even more than I did before, or whatever reason it was, that's something that's needed. You know, if that's needed to me to playing worse stats-wise and everything, that's what's needed. You know, it doesn't really matter if I'm dropping a 40 bomb, 30 bombs, or clutching every time, or doing like that. Just that I'm happy end of the day to bring back to NiP where I want it to be, because we've been playing for NiP for such a long time, and the first day we came to create the team was that NiP stands only for winning, nothing else. And I'm still living by that motto, and it's been very painful for the time being now to not do it. And I want to give it back to the fans as well. And if I can do it before I give up on myself or anything, I want to do it with pride, you know.
Yeah. Is your goal to win a major?
I want to win every major.
Everything?
Of course, I mean, everyone would say that probably, but I want to win it so much that, you know, it's the same there. I want to do it as much as I would be proud of myself before I quit playing, you know.
Have you ever considered resigning in late terms in CSGO?
For me, at the moment, there's no really a date on it. Everything is more about motivation, because I don't want to play a game if I don't have any motivation and the will to win or something like that. I just want to, you know, finish off where I wanted to finish off, and if that means to put in even more hours and everything, that's what's necessary. But if I feel for 2 months or something I have no motivation to play this game at all, I will contact NiP directly and say, hey, I don't want to play anymore.
If someone wants to be great, it matters how they use their hours. What do you know, I've heard of stories of you deathmatching for 5 hours a day, you know, on certain days to prepare for things. It shows that you're extremely motivated to win, but is deathmatching the only thing? What do you have to do if you want to be great? What does your mind take you?
Well, it's probably we had to go back a lot of years to really see where I actually found out to become even better than most of the people were, or actually, you know, understanding the game more. And it was pretty much watching a lot of online games, LAN tournament games, watching demos, even downloading people who were cheating to understand how they were thinking and doing some kind of stuff. It sounds probably like a weird answer, but at the same time, that helped me the most. To get a deeper understanding of the game, especially 1.6, where you can spam all the walls and so on, you know, easier. In CSGO, I haven't really found anything like that similarity. So, I mean, it was like 8-9 years ago I did that, like the people have been cheating demos. But nowadays I do, you know, still watch a lot of games. I watch a lot of Go TVs, VODs as well. Play a lot of deathmatch, play a lot of pugs, play with my team, and pretty much all the time think about CS. Think about something that, like, could this work? Could this not work? Could that work, you know?
When you don't feel like playing, do you just keep playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think it's best if you're in a slump and say you're not in a position like yourself where you're playing for a lot of money and you have it as a job? If you're not feeling very good about yourself as a player, do you think if you have the opportunity to try to take a break and come back, or do you think it's good to try to play through it if you really want to get good?
I've been always one of those guys that put in a lot of hours, and if I come in a slump, I will put in even more hours. I will grind it out, if you could say it like that. But I mean, it depends on persons and players, you know, like how they're acting. So I think most of the times it could be good to just take a break, give it a few days, just relax and so on, think about something else. But I've never really did a break, you know. So I don't know how to take a break either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still like, I mean, I've been waiting here what is it, Friday we play our game. I'm just waiting to get home to play.
Right.
I'm just waiting. I've been thinking about new things, doing like that. So I'm so pumped for next tournament. I'm so pumped to play with Pyth again. I just want to go back and play.
So let's end on the future of NiP here. You've got Threat in as a coach. He's obviously done a lot. I see you guys doing insane double fakes, right? Which is maybe something that you wouldn't even consider before. Maybe only map control before. Has the structure opened your eyes to new things and new ways to see the game?
Yeah, it has, of course.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we cannot really speak about it. If I did it in 6 months' time, this interview, I would probably do it more depth, And like, now it's too early to really say anything about it. I'm just super pumped about anything. Like, things have been opening up that I thought I tried before, but it didn't work out. Now Fred is saying, try this and see how it goes, and it works. And you're like, it actually worked, and so on. You get surprised by it a lot.
Like a strategy or an individual thing?
Individual strategies, everything.
Yeah.
So he's opened up at least my eyes to everything, like whatever you name to me and like throw it at me, you will probably say, yeah, you've probably done that,
When I think about coaches, I think there just aren't enough retired good players that would make great coaches in CSGO. Because for me, I see CSGO players as being the best people to be a coach. Was that the same thought for you? I mean, Threat hasn't played top level invite in CSGO, so did that make you think, well, he might not understand what it takes to win top level CSGO?
No, I mean, he was always a great leader in 1.6, and he actually played CSGO, so I know what his mindset is going into and so on. And he's always been one of those guys that wants to try out things differently, so no.
No? Cool. Now, I just have one last question. Do you still play this game like it's 1.6?
No.
No? Is there anything that you keep?
Damn, it's been a few years now since 1.6, but I mean, I think I'm still very unique with the spraying in Go. And I was known for my sprays in 1.6. So that's probably that thing I took from 1.6. People were saying, I remember in Go in the beginning, that I broke the laws of physics with my sprays because people were complaining, it's not possible and anything, and I proved everyone wrong many, many times. So it's probably that, if you ask me.
Is there any range you shouldn't spray at?
Never. Just spray.
Just spray.
And don't even try to believe. Don't even try to believe. Because if you try to believe in your spray or something like that you need to do that because a hitting shot, then you're screwed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the insight, man.
No problem.
Appreciate the interview.
Thanks.
That was GeT right after the major.